Welcome back to the ILL I&I segment, part of the Coach Steve Show, where we talk about everything with Illinois athletics. They will travel today to take on the Penn State Nitty Lions with a ranked Big Ten showdown. Penn State ranked number 9, Illinois ranked number 19. It is going to be a tough battle today. We are here to discuss the keys to the game for Illinois to possibly walk out of Penn State with a win to go 5-0. Both teams are very competitive, very physical, very well coached, and it's going to be a fun one. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the Coach Steve Show YouTube page. There will be an ILL I&I segment there to get everything with Illinois athletics. If you like Eastern Illinois athletics, there's a segment called Bleed Blue, everything with Eastern Illinois. If unfortunately you are a Chicago Bears fan like myself, there is a Bear Down segment where myself and Zach Kylman get on each week to break down pregame, postgame, and film breakdown of the Chicago Bears. And there's other content out there for everybody else. So like and subscribe, something out there for everybody. And follow on X, Instagram, and TikTok, the descriptions below. And leave a comment section down below as well. So let's get into it. Illinois is traveling to take on Penn State. Number 19, Illinois. Number 9, Penn State. Illinois is 4-0, 1-0 in conference. Penn State is 3-0 overall and has not played a Big Ten opponent up until this point. Penn State's already had a bye week. Let's talk about Penn State for a little bit because we always talk about Illinois. We're going to discuss Penn State a little bit. They opened up with West Virginia and won that game 34-12. Then they opened up with Bowling Green, and it was a close one. Penn State almost got upset 34-27. And then they go play Kent State out of the MAC and won 56-0. And so now, outside of West Virginia, Bowling Green gave them a test. This will be a test for Penn State as they open up Big Ten play with number 19, Illinois. Illinois has shocked a lot of people, and it's really hilarious. It's really funny because they don't even know how to act right now. And Illinois is getting respect, don't get me wrong. I just think for some of the ESPN and Fox podcasters or people like that, they thought that Illinois may not be here. I knew that some thought gave them a chance, but I don't think they thought that. And because they didn't see them beating Kansas and they didn't see them beating Nebraska. They really didn't. A lot of people, even fan bases that do that, they didn't see that. And especially at Nebraska, and people are picking Nebraska to go to the playoff. And I'm not saying that's out of the question, but it doesn't look good for Nebraska. And that's okay. I think that Coach Bielema and company want to fly under the radar. It's going to, the brand is going to get exposed or shown because all people are going to do is talk about Illinois. If they continue to win and compete in the Big Ten, that's going to take care of itself. I respect Joe Klatt. He does his podcast and he travels around and does game day and stuff like that. I respect him a lot. I do try to listen to his podcast at times, but it was really funny because now they're forced to talk about Illinois football for two reasons. One, they're 4-0 and they're ranked number 19. They are forced to now talk about them. Number two, people have picked Penn State to go to the playoff, and if not compete for the Big Ten, it would come down between them and Ohio State and Oregon. And that's all they talked about. So now they have to talk about Illinois because they're traveling to Penn State. But I guarantee you, if they were to talk about it, it was going to be a quick. If this was at the beginning of the season, if this was, whatever, I guarantee the talk would have been, well, Penn State's going to, win 30-something to 12 because Illinois is just not quite there yet, and Penn State is this. And this is no offense to Penn State. They have a lot of good players. They are poised to go to the playoff. They are poised to win a lot of games because people forget that Penn State would have made the playoffs if this was a 12-team ranking system. They would have made the playoffs, I think, every single year except for maybe one. Like, they were always right there. And Penn State's just that team that's always sticking around, right? Like, quietly You know what I mean? Oh, wait a minute. Penn State went 10-2. Like, why is nobody talking about that? Oh, Penn State went even 11-1 or something like that. Like, oh, wow. Okay. But they have high expectations at Penn State. And so they just, they want championships. They want Big Ten championships. They want to beat all these teams. So that's what they strive for. But it's funny because I was listening to Joe Klatt. There was a clip and saying that, Illinois' offensive game plan against Nebraska was awesome. And then he goes, I think the offensive coordinator's name is Lunny or Looney. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, if you're going to talk about a team, at least know who the coaches' names are. Like, his Barry Lunny Jr. is the offensive coordinator, Joe Klatt. Like, that's who it is. Like, I understand if you're just randomly talking about it. Like, if I were to randomly start talking about Minnesota, I don't know all the coaches there. So I'd be like, I think this just randomly. But like, I come in here prepared to talk about Penn State and Illinois. If he's on his show, that's not the podcast part, but is live on TV, and you're going to talk about Illinois, at least be prepared and know who the coaches are. But that just kind of shows you nationally. They are talking about Illinois. The brand is out there, but they still are a step behind of like full on respect because, like I've said this about Illinois, and I'm sure Coach Bielema on staff would agree with me that they're there to have the type of success that they had a couple years ago, but it has to be every year. It can't be we're going to go 8-5 and then only win 4 or 5 games and then try to do this. Like, it has to be consistent. So I understand the part of being consistent until that takes over and then they continue to be talked about. So they are a step behind in the respect aspect, but people don't pay attention to Illinois like I do. I grew up a fan, so we're going to keep talking about it. I know some of the coaches there, so I try to reach out to them, and so just that stuff. All right, so let's talk about the game. Right now, Penn State is a overwhelmingly favorite, 86%, overwhelming favorite. I don't know who bets where. I just see this right here. Penn State minus 17.5. Over under for total points is 47.5. And it's real funny because a coach on our coaching staff played college football at Penn State and then went on to play a small stint in the NFL. And he was a very good running back for Penn State. So we've been making jokes a little bit here and there. Like, I'm an Illinois fan. Obviously, he's Penn State. But ultimately, like, he asked me what's going to happen. I joked with him. I said, Illinois with the win, baby. And he was like, no, really. Like, Penn State's really good. And they have a good quarterback. They have a good tight end. They have good guys on defense. They're very physical up front. And I told him, I said, well, realistically, what I look for in this game is that Illinois can't turn the ball over. Because I think if they turn the ball over, any team that turns the ball over, you put yourself in a bad spot. But you turn the ball over against this Penn State team, you're going to be putting yourself in a position where you're going to really have to fight back. And you kind of proved that a little bit against Nebraska, but I think Penn State this year is a whole other level. I don't think Penn State's going to win the national championship. I don't see them beating the Alabamas and Georgias and teams like that, but they are going to win a lot of games this year. And their schedule sets it up perfectly for the Big Ten, except, but they have to get through Ohio State. I think they'll get through USC because, they've already lost. They'll get through UCLA. They'll get through Wisconsin. Wisconsin is really down. The Ohio State game will be a tough one. I think they'll get Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland, but and this is no offense to, Penn State, but like, doesn't it feel like Penn State always loses a game or two that they shouldn't? A couple years ago, when Illinois last went to Penn State, Illinois won in 9 overtimes, and that was the rebuilding part of the team for Coach Bielema. Like, we had Brandon Peters at quarterback, for God's sakes. Like, that's where we were. This was before that really good year. So this was building it up. So that was the last time Illinois went there. That was a game Penn State probably shouldn't have lost. That's when Illinois came out with the barge. They had all the O-line on the field. They had Chase Brown at running back. But this is going to be a nice showdown. Really nice showdown. It's going to be a fun game for all, and I recommend everybody watches it. They're going to be honoring the 1994 team for Penn State. So I think that'll be a really cool thing to have for them. Penn State has won 4 or 5 the last series against Illinois. Illinois won in a 2021 9 overtime game. Luke Altmaier has yet to throw an interception. That's going to be a big key thing for everybody there. Sorry, I'm looking at the stats here. Oh, you think you'd be prepared? Shut up. The quarterback for Penn State has done really well. Here's the funny thing: when you compare quarterbacks, Luke Altmaier's thrown the ball 105 times, and Aller's only thrown it 58 times. But Illinois has played an extra game. They've played 4 games. Penn State's only played 3. Both similar. Luke Altmaier has 862 passing yards and 10 touchdowns. Aller has 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. Both have really good running backs. Singleton, the running back for Penn State, has 37 carries for 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kanan Fagian for Illinois has 54 carries, 242 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Pat Bryant is one of the top receivers actually in the Big Ten. He has 20 receptions, 309 yards, and 6 touchdowns. The top receiver for Penn State is Warren, 16 receptions, 226 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Pat Bryant has really emerged as one of the best wide receivers in the Big Ten so far. So hopefully that's what's going to be continued. You know what I mean? For Penn State, tackles, Jalen Reed is their best tackler. He has 22. They've also played Bo Pribula. I'm going to say his name wrong at quarterback. They've probably rotated him in if they had a couple blowouts. Another running back is Katron Allen for Penn State, has 187 yards rushing as well. So Penn State just has talent everywhere on defense, offense, even the receiving core. Omari Evans, another wide receiver. And when you talk about Tyler Warren, that's a tight end. Tight end is leading Penn State in yards, 226 yards for a tight end. So I was talking about that. He's a very good tight end. And the problem when you try to guard tight ends is then you open up receivers down the field. So Illinois is going to have their hands full deciding of who they're going to stop on defense. Oh, excuse me. Energy. Ghost. They don't sponsor and they never will, but Ghost is delicious. This Ghost Energy drink, orange cream, is perfect in the morning. They don't sponsor. That'd be awesome. They should sponsor with the amount that I drink them. You know, how much money they've gotten from me over the time. But anyway, so when you have a tight end leading receiver, that shows the signs of a good team. Mari Evans is a wide receiver. He has 205 yards receiving. Harrison Wallace III has 146 yards, and they all have 2 touchdowns. So they are a very more balanced offense than they have been before. So if you are Illinois on defense, you're going to have your hands full. You're really going to have your hands full. And the reason why you're going to have your hands full, you've got to decide who you're going to stop. Now, personally, how you stop a tight end is if he's lined up in the slot, it's harder because you got to get hands-on. And then if you're worried about getting hands-on, it's going to open up somebody behind you and it puts safety in a bad position because you're probably putting a linebacker on him. Now, if he's down with his hand in the dirt, it's a little bit easier. You can tell your defensive end to really chip him, and you have your linebacker there to really chip him as well and knock him off. But the keys to the game for Illinois to try to get this win at Penn State is it's going to be a hostile environment. If they're wide out, blue out, whatever, it's going to be loud. It's going to be very loud. It's a night game. But it's a loud environment that it's just cool, right? Like you'd rather be at home, but it's an experience. I would love to go to a Penn State game and see that. Like it's one of my bucket lists to go see. And you just got to enjoy the moment and don't let it be too much. And if you're the defense, yeah, you're going to give up big plays. And it's kind of repeating yourself each week, but we're okay that you give up a big play here and there, as long as it doesn't lead to points. Now, the big plays that lead to points, that's the problem. But Illinois' defense has shown that they have a really good corner and safety core, and I think they're going to really tackle well. And I think they're really going to test this Penn State offense. I really hope so. And I really think so because they play like nothing to lose, right? But I'm not too worried about the safeties and corners and the linebackers, actually. I'm more worried about, can we put pressure on the quarterback for Penn State? Is that to me will be a key. If you could put pressure on him and get him to move around and get him to think, it might help take some pressure off of the other guys of, we always have to jam this guy. We always got to be covering this guy. If we can get that quarterback to move and be uncomfortable, I think that's where the defense is going to be putting ourselves in a good position. I'm not too worried about the back end. I think they will show up and play. I think they're going to embrace the environment. I think they're going to embrace the challenge, and I think that you know, you know, Henry, the defense coordinator, is getting better each week, and they're trusting him each week, and they're rallying to the football. They're forcing turnovers, and so I think if Illinois can get pressure on the quarterback and force, I want to say 2 turnovers. If they can force 2 turnovers, if they can get a fumble or an interception or something, it's going to be putting Illinois in a fantastic spot. The offensive side, they have to be able to keep the defense off the field so that way they're not always out there. So you have to have long sustaining drives. And if you're the Illinois offense, you're going to have to be able to get the run game going. And the thing is with Illinois, they use, 3 running backs. And so we have to find the hot hand and say, okay, this is who we're going to ride with today. But I also think that they have to be okay with 2-yard runs, 3-yard runs. They have to be okay with that against this Penn State defense. And they're going to have to be okay with, oh my gosh, we just threw a 3-yard pass. It was a hitch. Cool. You want that because Penn State's not going to let you give up the big play all the time. Now we have the 2 wide receivers that can, Sakari Franklin and Pat Bryant. We can. There are times we are going to have to take a shot, but we have to be okay with intermediate passes. And Luke Altmaier is taking care of the football. Today cannot be the day that he decides to throw the ball away, right? And I'm not saying he's going to. I'm not saying that at all, but it's one of those things where like, oh, today he throws an interception, right? He's not doing it on purpose, but Illinois cannot turn the ball over. I think if they turn the ball over 2 times, it's going to be hard for them to win the game. For any team it is, but against this specific Penn State team, it'll be very hard to turn around and try to win the game. So they have to take care of the football, no turnovers. And they can't go 3 and out. I think that every time they get the ball, they have to get some type of sustained drive, even if it leads to a punt, but they've gotten 2 first downs or something, or it took a while, like just things like that in order to punt the ball away and put Penn State backed up to give your defense a better position. But I think that Luke Altmaier is going to have to continue to play well. And I think we're going to have a big game from a running back in this game because they've seen that we can pass the ball. They've seen we've got the receivers this time around, and we don't have just Isaiah Williams to lock onto. We have 2 good wide receivers that are able to get the ball. And so they're probably going to try to focus on them. So we get the run game going, Luke Altmaier. And I think also Luke Altmaier's going to have to use his legs. I think there have to be some zone reads, design runs to help ease off some of it and just kind of open up the entire playbook is open today. And I also I think it's going to be a very physical game. The O-line's really going to have to play well also, but it's just going to be a nice, hard, physical, old school game. Yes, it'll be out of spread. It's not going to all be old school I formation, run the ball, but it's going to be an old school fist fight. And all I hope for is that it's a close game, that neither team gets blown out. Well, you're saying that as an Illinois fan. Don't you want Illinois to blow them out? I guess, but you're just looking for an entertaining game. Like, I hope it's a close game. I hope it's a battle, and I hope that Illinois obviously comes away with the win. It'd be a big upset win and put Illinois in a position to be 5-0, which would be amazing. But this is going to be an old school, hard fought game. And if Illinois really can't afford mistakes against this Penn State team. On defense, they can't afford a lot of mistakes. And offense, they can't really afford mistakes. They have to block. They can't turn the ball over. So those are the keys, I think, for this Illinois team to walk away with a win at Penn State. But it's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be an awesome environment. Make sure you like and subscribe to Coach Steve Show YouTube channel. Check out the ILL I segment, everything with Illinois athletics. There's stuff for Eastern Illinois athletics, Chicago Bears, talks for high school coaches all the way up to Division I Power 5 conference coaches. Follow on X, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. It's all in the description below. Leave comment section down below. What do you think is going to happen in this game? So thank anybody for watching and or listening. This is Coach Steve. We'll see you guys next